This is the Construction Leading Edge podcast from constructionleadingedge.com and constructionbusinessaccelerator.com. My name is Todd DeWalt. It's my job to help you, the construction business owner, eliminate chaos, maximize revenue. Here's what you're going to get out of this podcast today. You're going to learn how to drive away first-time customers, and maybe more importantly, how to prevent yourself from driving away first-time customers. You're going to learn, what does Google want? I talked to somebody who did marketing and online stuff a few months ago, and they said, if Google likes it, I like it. And you may be thinking, I'm in commercial, I'm in industrial, I'm an earthwork guy, blah, 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 blah. Listen, your customers are searching. Well, yes, your customers are searching on Google. I don't care if you're commercial, residential, industrial, whatever you're doing, your customers are searching for you. If you're a subcontractor, general contractors are searching Google. So it's important that you understand that if Google likes it, you like it. You're also going to learn how to erase bad online reviews. You'll learn how to get good online reviews, how to systematize the getting of reviews from your customers, and then we're going to land on a strategy that is a double whammy for you. You're going to learn a strategy that will help you get reviews, get more reviews, and at the same time to recognize your employees. Pretty good stuff. So this interview is with Jay Bean from Freshlime, and he's going to talk about all that. You can get more information about his company by just going to constructionleadingedge.com/Freshlime. And I recommend you do that if you want to engage with your customers and go deeper into these things that we're going to talk about. A couple of other resources and updates I want to get into your hands. I'm going to be on the road speaking at a couple of events over the next few weeks. I'm going to be in Louisville, Kentucky at the Remodeling Show and Deck Expo on November 6th, 2019, talking about how you can maximize the productivity of your people. So if you're going to be at the Remodeling Show in Louisville, Kentucky, the first week of November, then come see me speak. Look me up, November 6th. That's at 1:30 p.m. I'll be talking, giving a workshop there. And then the next day, I'll be at Co-Construct's event, CoCon, in the Miami, Florida area on November 7th, giving a keynote speech there. So if you're going to be at the Remodeling Show and the Deck Expo in Louisville, look me up. Or if you're going to be at CoCon, then look me up as well. I'd love to meet you in person. A couple of other resources to get in your hands. If you're in project management, or if you manage a team or manage a company, then your job is really to be a broker of information, to get the right information to the right people at the right time, at the right level of detail. And then if you want to position yourself to deal with a dispute, you need to have an organized, searchable history of all of those communications, because, as I like to say, he or she who has the best documentation wins in case of a dispute. So if you manage a team or you manage a construction site and you want a simple way to manage all of that communication and have a searchable, organized history of all of that communication, then you need to check out Field Chat. It is the text messaging platform that is designed for construction sites. It is dead simple, very powerful. It integrates with some of the big names out there like PlanGrid and Procore, and it eliminates what I call the Bermuda Triangle of information. You know, the Bermuda Triangle where planes and ships disappear and they just vanish. Well, there's this Bermuda Triangle of information between the field, the office, and your client, or maybe it's the architect that you're dealing with. And you know, if there's ever been a dispute, that you know there's a piece of information. You know somebody sent you a text message. You know somebody told you something, but you can't prove it. And if you can't prove it, it never happened. And then that means you're going to lose. So wouldn't it be nice to have an organized, searchable history of all of your communication with your subcontractors, all of your communication with other people on your team, then that's what Field Chat is going to do for you. And right now, because you are listening to this in your earbuds or on the radio, because you're a construction leading edge listener, they're going to give you a special deal. You can get 15% off, maybe even more. So go to fieldchat.com/edge, EDGE. Check it out and see what it's like to have more time and see what it's like to have the confidence knowing that you have all the information you need and everything is organized. A couple of other things. You know, I'm all about systems. And if you want to systematize your business, then part of that could be outsourcing. I'm a big fan of outsourcing. I'm going to give you a couple of resources for some done-for-you services that'll free up your time. And you may be thinking, I can't afford to pay somebody to do stuff. Well, think about this. What if you had 4 hours a week to do something really high value for your business? Maybe you would spend that time selling. How much more work could you sell if you had 4 hours a week freed up to run more estimates or do more marketing or do more networking? Maybe if you spent 4 hours a week just on networking, what would that do for you? That's the way you need to think about outsourcing, is free up your time doing low-dollar tasks that somebody else can do so that you can do only the things that only you can do. Okay, that's what you need to focus on. Your job is not to reduce cost. Your job is to reduce opportunity cost. All right? What is opportunity cost? Well, opportunity cost is when, an example would be if you can pay somebody $40 to mow your grass and you could spend that time selling and doing $1,000 an hour activities. Let's say this. I believe your time is worth $1,000 an hour. So if you are mowing your grass and you could pay somebody $40 to mow your grass, you're getting hit with $960 of opportunity cost. So what is opportunity cost? Opportunity cost is the difference between the maximum return on investment and the actual return on investment of something. So money that's stuck under your mattress has an opportunity cost. Equipment that is sitting idle has an opportunity cost. And you spending time on low-value activities has an opportunity cost. You need to be spending your time on $1,000 an hour activities and then outsourcing anything that's less than $1,000 an hour that somebody else can do for you. So let me give you a couple of examples of folks that I've partnered with. One is for bookkeeping, all right? You probably suck at bookkeeping, you probably hate it, and you could be doing much higher value activities. And if that's you, then I recommend that you check out the Apparatus Contractor Services team. They specialize in outsourced bookkeeping for small construction businesses, period. You can get more details about the Apparatus Contractor Services team by going to constructionleadingedge.com/headache. That's the link because that's the way you can outsource and eliminate your bookkeeping, payroll, and financial reporting headaches. Constructionleadingedge.com/headache. And if you're a remodeler, you know that social media is huge. Your clients are on social media. They're looking at Facebook. They're looking at Instagram, looking for ideas and coming up with all of their dreams and aspirations. And if you're not on social media consistently, then you're missing out on leads. And your competition is getting those leads. But you're thinking, I don't have time to post all of this stuff. Well, that's right. Again, you don't have to do it yourself. You just have to make sure it's done. So my buddy Spencer Powell from Builder Funnel has come up with a done-for-you social media program for remodelers. It is an absolute no-brainer, and you're going to get curated Facebook posts, Instagram posts with the right hashtags, pictures. You're going to get training. It's going to be done for you. Plug and play. And Spencer Powell he's a marketing guy. He understands marketing. He understands social media. This is what he does, and he focuses on working with builders and remodelers, and he's got a program for remodelers, the Done For You social media program, and you can find out more details about that by going to constructionleadingedge.com/social. And if you go through that link, you can get a nice little discount because you're a construction leading edge listener. I mentioned systematizing your business. Keep your eyes out. I've got my training videos are coming out soon. How to systematize your construction business, and you can go to constructionbusinessaccelerator.com. Maybe it's available now. If not, you can sign up for the wait list and you'll get notified when those videos come out. But go to constructionbusinessaccelerator.com to get my free training video series on how to systematize your construction business. And as always, I've got lots of resources on my website, constructionleadingedge.com. Plenty of webinars and resources, and you can even schedule a call with me, free strategy session, if you're a construction business owner, and I would be happy to talk to you. So check out those resources. There's help available. You can outsource some of this crap that you don't like to do and you suck at to free up your time to do other things that you can actually make money at. So take advantage of those resources. Take the time. Check them out. There is help available. Now, let's get to my interview with Jay Bean, and let's learn about how you might be driving away your first-time customers. All right, Jay Bean, thanks for being on the podcast. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's jump into it. Got a few things that we want to cover. We're going to be talking about how to deal with and how to get rid of negative reviews. We'll talk about how to get more repeat customers. The first thing I want to hit on is you say that there are 3 things that most business owners do to drive first-time customers away. Anybody that's been in business for a while knows that they want repeat business. That's ideal. But you say there are 3 things that most business owners do to drive those first-time customers away so that they never come back. Can you talk about that for a few minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole marketplace has changed, right? I mean, we've gone from kind of a business-driven environment to a consumer-driven environment over the last 15, 20 years. And so what business owners used to do in order to get customers, retain customers, is much different today because of this consumer-driven marketplace that we're in today. And so the one big thing that has changed is consumers are in charge, and consumers want things now, and consumers want kind of this personalization, and business owners are afraid of using modern technology to stay connected to those customers. And so something as simple as even to help their business of even asking for a review or doing a follow-up thank you, or all these basic things that they could be doing in order to get and retain more customers. They're not doing the basics because they're afraid of, I don't know if they're afraid of offending, if it's kind of out of the norm, but as we look at what e-commerce is doing, and they engage us, Amazon knows a lot about us. They're not afraid to engage us. And Amazon, look at Amazon and look at Sears, right? I mean, Amazon, when they sold their first book, Sears was a $50 billion a year business. And Amazon learned how to talk and communicate with us as consumers. And so as business owners, I think that, and we see this all the time, the first thing that they have to do is just communicate. And communicating sometimes is engaging before the sell in the way that the customer wants. I mean, business owners are trying to still force consumers to call them on the phone and talk to them. When we think about the local service business and working with a lot of contractors, we know that contractors, they need to have that dialogue, but the consumer doesn't always want to start that dialogue with a phone call. They may want to start that dialogue with a chat session, or they may want to message them on Facebook. Wherever that consumer is, that's where they want to start that dialogue, right? And so that's we're finding small business owners, they're afraid of these new communication paths, and also they're not necessarily really equipped to handle those in the same way that they're able to handle a phone call today. And so when we think about those first few things that businesses are doing that are not helping them. One is they need to be where their customers are. Two, they need to not be afraid to ask. And it is a dialogue. It is a conversation. It's a relationship. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we need to think about our consumers as relationships, just like we have with our family and friends, and we need to communicate with them in the same way. So, and sometimes we ask for things. So maybe asking for something like this as a review, or asking the consumer if they need more. And so by ignoring our customers, we're really kind of driving them away in a way that is not healthy for any small business, right?
Yeah. So I've got the three things we're doing to drive away first-time customers. We're not communicating with them the way the customer wants. We're afraid to ask for a review. Was there another one that I missed?
I was trying to think about that. I know. I can't remember when I was kind of going through that. I apologize.
So maybe it'll come back. But you bring up a really good point, especially when it comes to construction. Things have changed dramatically over the past 20 years. It used to be that customers and contractors, well, how do I want to say this? Contractors used to know early on when the customer was starting their buying process, because that buying process started with going through the phone book, sending out an RFP, saying, hey, we want you to bid on our project. And that's when everybody, both the customer and the contractor, started the process at the same time. What's happening nowadays is that the customers are starting their buying process much sooner than contractors are finding out about it. So they're doing 40 to 50 to 60 to 70% of their decision making before they even contact the contractor. So I know of a relatively young general contractor in Florida who is now, according to Google, one of the top rated contractors in his area, and he's only been there for a few years. But as far as Google knows, he's one of the best. Now, are there other contractors who've been there for 50 to 100 years? Yeah, but Google doesn't know that. Therefore, their prospects don't know that, and that's where people are going to start the buying process. So what advice would you have for contractors on what they can do to communicate the way that the customer wants? Are we talking about like, hey, you got to have videos on your social media, on your website, you've got to be prepared to do instant messaging? What are some practical things that people can do to begin communicating with their potential customers the way that they want to communicate with the contractor?
I mean, first of all, you need to have consistency in your message. And I think as business owners, again, 20 years ago, we created a Yellow Page ad. The Yellow Page guy would come around once a year. So our message was always consistent because it was minimal places that we needed to be. And then all of a sudden the internet came along, and like last year there's 2.7 or 2.6 trillion Google search queries. And so over those last 20 years, we've had to build not only a web page that doesn't necessarily stay up to date, and that's really kind of that I don't know, 15 years ago, that was kind of the front of the business, the new front of the business. But then social media came along, and so that actually started changing things. And so consistency in their message across these different mediums. And also we're going through this generational shift. And so being able to utilize all of that same content, because that buying process does start in a much different place. It could start with actually a review. It could start on a marketplace. It could start somewhere else where you're not, as the business owner, you're not in full control of of whatever content is being presented. And we know wherever that starts, there's probably going to be a Google search or a search on another search engine. And those search engines, and we'll choose Google as an example, but it's not cutting out Bing and Yahoo and the other those entry points, but Google is the largest piece of it. But Google does not care about the small business. They don't care about the large business. What they care about is the consumer experience. And Google wants to ensure that the consumer gets to the most relevant information and the relevant whatever it is. So if it is the contractor they're looking for, they want to make sure they get to the most relevant business as quickly as possible, because they rely on consumers coming back. As business owners, we have to put our information in front of those consumers in the way that Google wants. It's not our terms anymore, it's other people's terms, right? And in this case, for the consumer, Google expects that we're going to take our most relevant business information, we're going to go create a GMB page, and we're going to keep that up to date. And does keeping that up to date mean that we need to spend hours every week? It's not saying that we need to spend hours every week, but keeping it up to date, just like, I mean, each of these contractors has a truck, right? And I'm sure that keeping that truck up to date, going through the car wash, getting its oil change, putting fuel in it, I mean, they're going through and doing general maintenance on their equipment all the time. But then we think about this online piece and our connection into where the consumers are, and they're like, well, I did that, I checked that off. I don't need to do that anymore. But, and we see this with websites. I mean, how many times have you gone to a contractor's website and it was, I mean, they've moved shops, their phone number's different, they offer different services they haven't updated it since 2014, right? It's not like we see that, right?
Or 2008.
And so
I've talked to some contractors who are saying, yeah, we got a website out there, but we don't do that anymore. You need to go to our Facebook page. And I'm like, you're really missing out here. Yeah, so that's interesting. I like what you said. Google doesn't care about small business. They don't care about big business. What they care about is getting their consumer to the most relevant information that they're looking for. So if somebody wants to get started, well, first of all, you mentioned an acronym. I think you said a GMB page. What does that mean?
So it's Google My Business. So when we're searching on Google, we're searching on our Android device, and we're looking for, I don't know, a plumber, a general contractor, whatever we're looking for. Google has three different types of listings that we're going to see on a page, right? At the very top of the page and probably the bottom of the page, we're going to see paid listings. In the middle section where we have the maps and showing just businesses that are in that general category, all of that data is actually powered by Google My Business. And in this page, you're essentially taking your most valuable and your most accurate business information, so your name, address, telephone number, business description, products, questions and answers, photos of your work, all of this relevant information, and that's your online reviews are actually tied to your Google My Business page. And so keeping that up to date, that's actually more important today because Google's actually taking that structured data. And this is not an example of that's probably for your industry, but it'll give you a really good example. So if I'm looking for, like I'm in San Diego with my family this week, and I'm not gluten-free, but if I was looking for a gluten-free pizza and I wanted it on Sunday, if a pizza shop that had gluten-free didn't have that in their profile, and if they didn't update saying that they're open on Sunday, then they're not going to show up and they don't have an opportunity to talk to the consumer. And so if the business owner is not going in and putting the information in, then what Google is starting to do now is Google is trying to come up with those answers on their own. So they may look at reviews from other consumers that have gone in that business. And so let's say that someone went in on a Thursday night and they were out of gluten-free dough, and this consumer left a negative review saying they say they're gluten-free, but they're not. And so then Google would say, oh, they're not gluten-free. And then let's say it's maybe they had a party and they're closed one Sunday, and so someone left a negative review and saying they're closed on Sunday. And so now Google's going to take that information that they're finding from consumers and they're going to trust that over the business's information because the business is not keeping that up to date. But as a business, if we keep that up to date, if we're changing it, just kind of like you said, Facebook a second ago. I mean, they're like, hey, my website's is not relevant anymore, but my Facebook page is. You have to keep Facebook updated as well, right? So there's all these major kind of little hubs where businesses need to keep that information up to date so they have a great consumer experience. And I would not discount the website. The website is doesn't get the placement that it used to, but it doesn't say that a consumer is not going to find your listings on GMB and want to get a hold of you and go to your website to learn more. And so it does play a role in the overall ecosystem.
Yeah. So a question about Google My Business pages. Is there a certain level at which somebody should have a Google My Business page, or should everybody have one right now?
So every business that wants to be found on Google needs to have a Google My Business page. And so if you're a brand new contractor, you just started up yesterday, you probably went out and bought a truck, you went down to the sign shop and you put your phone number on the side of it, and you put your license number, you went and did all those basics. When someone needs a contractor, they see your truck and they're like, oh yeah, I need that. They're going to go Google you. They're going to go look for you. They're not going they're like 67% of consumers want to message in other ways other than picking up the phone today. A millennial is less likely to ever call you, and is more likely to try to get a hold of you in other ways. And so they're going to start, generally we're going to start online for any type of a search to do our research. I mean, is this a credible business? Are other people saying that they're great? Whatever the case might be. And so, yeah, every business, you register your business, you get your LLC or whatever it is, and you probably go look for a domain name, and you need to fill out your Google My Business. And it doesn't take a long time, but there's also lots of services out there that can help you keep that updated and maintained and kind of go through that process. But it is as essential as having a business license.
Got it. I was talking to a relatively new business owner the other day, and he said that one of the first things he wants to do was to get a wrap on his truck because he said that, and I've heard this from several people, well, everybody else has a wrap on their truck. And where would you spend your money? Where would you advise someone to spend their money first, on putting a wrap on their truck or building out their online presence?
Building an online presence. I think a number of years ago, I owned a number of sunglass stores, and so we went and had the sunglass car, and it was a Scion or something, and we wrapped it. And that wrap, I mean, it cost $2,000 or $3,000 or whatever, but the wrap didn't bring in customers. What brought in customers in 2005 was the radio ads that we ran and other things, right? And we built a great online business. But and for a contractor, I understand that they have to have a vehicle. They're going to keep it clean. They need their information on there. But consumers are not. I mean, we've just changed, and we're in a consumer-driven marketplace. And consumers, they don't have one choice anymore. It's not like they go to the yellow pages and they see the guy with the biggest ad. That used to be your credibility. If you could afford a bigger ad, that showed that you were a better, more legitimate business than the guy who had a one-line ad or a quarter-page ad or whatever. And I remember my parents had that phone book where they just circled. They'd find someone, they would use them once, it was good, and they would circle it, and they would go back to that same guy. That doesn't exist anymore. It's completely gone. There's nothing to circle, right? And so our circling is now it's online, and it's reviews from other people, and it's the business. I mean, either businesses are going to be growing or they're going to be declining. And word of mouth is awesome. And we know that word of mouth is awesome, but even if I get a recommendation from somebody, let's say I was going to build a new shop, I'm still going to go and do research online on that business. I don't care who it is that recommends them. I'm still going to go do my own research, and that's where consumers are. And if you think about the younger generation, it's even 10x or 100x kind of the feeling that I have when I want to go and find more information. They're completely off the charts, right? And they want the business to be there in their terms, not in the business's terms.
Yeah, there's a think about for you guys and gals listening. Think about when you want to buy something, when you want to go to a restaurant or find a bar. Chances are a lot of you either use a referral from somebody else recommended this place, or if you're on vacation or in a new city, you'll open up Yelp. I used Yelp a lot, or Google exactly what you're looking for. But one of the things about Yelp is you get access to one of the biggest social triggers, one of the psychological triggers that we as humans use, which is social proof. And when we're scrolling through restaurants or bars or carpet cleaners, whatever you're looking for, and you see one that has 87 reviews and it's 4.5 stars, and you see one that has 2 reviews, chances are you're going to go to the one with 87 reviews because more people have gone there. There's social proof, which is one of the reasons reviews are so powerful because of human psychology. So let's talk about reviews. What can somebody do if, for whatever reason, they have a bad review about their business?
It's a really good question. It comes up all the time, and we hear from business owners. And reviews are 100%. Reviews are ultra. I mean, they are super, super important, right? I mean, it is. We don't want to go to a 2-star sushi restaurant, nor would we want to go to a no-star or no-review sushi restaurant, right? I mean, there's some things that we just don't trust. And but if you think about it, all consumers most consumers will actually trust a review over even a personal recommendation in many cases. And so when we think about reviews, and every business owner faces this, having some negative reviews, sometimes we screw up, right? And when we screw up, we should be, as business owners, going and doing whatever we can to make it right with the consumer. And in those cases, we can go back to that consumer, make it right, and at the end, I'll tell you that we have a blog post that actually kind of goes through step by step everything that you can do to kind of go through each of these phases. But first thing you want to do is go deal with the consumer, make the consumer right. Don't say, hey, I'm going to make this right if you'll remove the Google review. Just make it right with the consumer. And once the consumer is happy, either they're going to go and change it, or you can ask them, hey, I made this right. Do you mind going and updating this for me? And I'll just give you a really, really quick story. So I had bought tires for my daughter's car, and shortly after we got these new tires, one of the wheels fell off, and no one got hurt. But I went back to the tire store that said, hey, we take care of everything. And they're like, well, it's a little bit older car, and we think that we did everything right. We're not going to take care of it. I'm like, but I've been a loyal customer for all these years. And they're like, well, that's just kind of our policy, right? And so I had to kind of take it to the next level, and I went out and I left a negative review. It ended up on the top of their results. And so this is like a month later, because I tried to deal with them first. And it wasn't until then that they came back and they're like, well, what can we do to get this rid of? I'm like, just take care of me, take care of the customer, number one, right? And so eventually they did, but it was like the review forced them to do it, versus the actually doing the right thing for the customer. So the number one thing, just do the right thing for the customer. Second thing that you need to do is to respond. Respond to positive reviews, respond to negative reviews. And we see this all the time. I think sometimes we're offended because our businesses are very personal to us, right? I mean, it's like a relationship, and we're building this, and it's our baby. And so when someone doesn't like our baby, when someone calls our baby ugly, then we seek revenge. And we see it all the time. Business owners just go off on the customer.
Yeah.
And so now if I'm the consumer and I find this contractor and someone didn't like the way they did a job or said he screwed up and he didn't feel like he did, and he just went off on them, he attacks the consumer, what does that say about the business owner? And I'm not the only one that's seen this. We see this all the time, and they'll go on the attack versus we as business owners, I mean, we have to do the right thing for the customer. And sometimes it's sucking it up and saying, hey, yeah, we don't think we screwed up, but you know what? We're still going to make it right. We're still going to do the right thing because this is your baby. This is your business. And in order for your business to grow, you have to this is your image. And if your image is, I'm a hothead and I'm going to go off on someone if things don't go right, no, there's too many choices. We're in a consumer-driven marketplace, right? And consumers have choices. But there are those times when you do have a legitimate case where someone leaves a negative review. It could be a competitor. It could be someone that's never done business with you. It could be someone who your guy is driving down the freeway and cuts somebody off, and they're like, I'm going to go leave these guys a negative review. I mean, there's lots of different cases where there's negative reviews, and so there is, and in those cases, you're probably not going to get it removed from the consumer standpoint by taking care of them. So Google does have several processes you can go through. The first thing you can do as a business owner, log into your, again, GMB account. That's where you're going to manage all of your reviews. In your GMB account, that's where you're going to respond to those reviews. And I would recommend always responding in a very timely manner, because that shows that you're on top of things and that you're really concerned about the customer. But the first thing you can do is you can go in there and report that this is, if there's offensive wording in there, you can go in and report it. If it's the wrong business, you can go in and report it. Or if it just wasn't meant for your business, or it was a competitor, or like we have one on the Freshlime page right now that we're working through and getting removed of an employee that just didn't work out, that went and left us a 1-star review, right? So I mean, you have those things, and so Google has a process, and we can share that with you guys. But there's a process that you go through, and it does take a while. I mean, they don't remove all of them. And it's not guaranteed that you're going to have to go through a process and kind of prove that it does take a little bit of work, and you're going to have to prove that there's a reason that it should be removed. And Google's a little different in that aspect. I mean, if you look at Yelp reviews, Yelp works differently. If you look at Facebook reviews, Facebook works differently. But there is just a specific process you go through, and it'll take a little bit of time. But Google does remove millions of reviews over the course of time of ones that are not relevant. I mean, the other side of that too, you may be competing against someone in the marketplace that's not a legitimate business and is just trying to take away your name. There's process for that as well. So Google has its own kind of issues around reviews, and people are always trying to scam the system, and we know that competitors and ex-employees and we can't control what others. It's easy. There's no qualification to go leave a review. I mean, so we have to kind of know that in the open marketplace.
Yeah. So some people may think, well, if I get started, what if? There's a lot of what ifs. Well, what if I set up a Google My Business page and somebody leaves a bad review? What if this? What if that? And that keeps a lot of people from getting started. But the answer is, well, a couple of answers. One is you need to be on there, because you're just missing out completely on so many searches. And then secondly, here's what I've found after managing projects, dealing with clients on construction projects for over 20 years. When something goes wrong, that's an opportunity to improve the relationship. So instead of looking at it as something to be afraid of and something to run away from, something goes wrong, which, first of all, it's going to go wrong, right? You're building stuff. Just the nature of the work means there will be mistakes made. So just go into it knowing that there will be mistakes. You can't avoid the mistakes, but what you can control is how you respond. And what I've found is when something goes sideways on a project, and you respond the right way, then it actually deepens the relationship. So it's sort of like when you break a bone and it grows back stronger than it was before, is sort of the analogy. So when something goes wrong and it gets broken and you respond the right way and you can fix it, it actually cements that relationship, and they realize, like, oh, wow, these guys stepped up and they took care of it. And I've seen that time after time after time. So I advise my clients, when something goes wrong, run at it. Pick up the phone knowing that, hey, this is going to be an opportunity for us to get a better relationship out of it. It's going to happen. It's just all about how you respond to it. So let's talk some more about.
Actually, and on that point, I mean, research actually shows that it's not just opinion. I mean, research shows that when there's a negative experience and you fix that experience, that relationship is in most cases is going to be stronger than if there were never ever any problems with a similar client. So I think it's a really, really good point.
Yeah, and I love to kill people with kindness. So I get these. I've had some haters, some just illegitimate comments, and it doesn't do any good to stoop down to their level. So if they are, regardless of what happens, regardless of whether it's a legitimate complaint, be responsive, be kind, because it's not just that person that's watching, it's everybody else. And how you respond to an issue says a lot to other prospects. I've seen Yelp reviews scrolling through, and I've seen negative reviews from someone, and then seen where the chef or the manager just attacks that person. And there's no way I'm going there. But when I see it on respondents that, hey, thank you for sharing this. We're so sorry that you had an experience like this. They're not defending it. It's all about the customer. What can we do to make it right? We'd love to follow up and talk to you directly. Wow, that says a lot to me. That looks like the kind of place I might want to go. So that's really good advice. Is don't demonize your customers and be emotional. I like what you said. I've heard it called straw therapy, right? When you get all emotional and you're upset, then you just need to get a straw and suck it up. Just freaking suck it up. Get control of your emotions. Wait a few hours before you fire off that response, and suck it up. Get it under control and do the right thing, because everybody's watching. That's really good advice. So let's talk about reviews. How does a good contractor get reviews? What are some low-hanging fruit that people can start to pick off to start getting more reviews, assuming that they're doing good work?
That's a really, really good question. So if you think about as consumers, we are not trained to talk about, I mean, in general, we're not trained to talk about kind of services that we're buying in a positive way. We are trained when we're thinking about hospitality, we think about restaurants, entertainment, these other things. Naturally, we're always going to go and share, just because of the way social works. Social media has almost trained us to talk about our experiences, and nobody wants to talk about the plumber or the contractor or the guy who came and did his landscaping or whatever, right? I mean, it's not something that's kind of inherently kind of top of our mind. On the opposite side, when something goes wrong, we're going to tell the world about it. We don't want anyone else to be screwed by this guy because he doesn't know how to run a backhoe, right? And so as business owners, especially in service trades and construction, whatever it is, we have to go beyond where we would normally have to go in order to get those reviews. And it really starts by communicating with our customer. Don't ask for a review for discounts. I mean, don't try to incentivize your customers to leave you a review, but most certainly incentivize your employees, train your employees around reviews. This is not just for you. This is for them as well. The livelihood of your business is providing livelihood for them and their families, right? And so why should they not play a role in this whole process of helping grow the business? Your business is either going to grow and thrive, or it's going to die over time. And so what we do, we tell business owners is every time we're having a customer communication, and so if that's a face-to-face with a homeowner, if that's wherever that is taking place, and a transaction happens, that is the moment to thank the customer for their business and ask them if there's anything else that we can do. Is there anything else that we could have done better? And then at that point, asking them if they wouldn't mind going and telling about their experience on Google or Facebook or Yelp or wherever you may be lacking results. And there's lots of services out there that you can use that kind of to automate that process a little bit. So asking for that, and then following up and sending them a quick text saying, hey, thanks again for your business. Really appreciate it. Here's a link to Google if you don't mind leaving that review, or here's a link to my Facebook reviews if you don't mind going and leaving a review. And so you have to ask. I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, there's two things you need to ask for in order to grow your business. One is you have to ask them for the business. You go on to give them a quote. You're doing everything you can to win that business. And at the end of it, business owners kind of shy off and say, hey, I don't want to talk to them anymore, right? I mean, I don't want to offend them. If they want to leave a review, they're just going to do it. Well, they're not. I mean, inherently, some will. I mean, when we go way above and beyond, I mean, some of them will go leave a review, but you're going to have more negative than you're going to positive. And so, but this really, I mean, this is not the business owner's only responsibility. I mean, I think that this is a staff responsibility. The way you're going to really drive this and grow it is to make it part of your overall process and your overall system with your employees and get them involved. And like I said, I like businesses that incentivize their employees to ask, because then that helps change that behavior. It helps change that process. And it doesn't have to be something big. It could be a $25 gift card or a $100 gift card at the end of the month for the person who gets the most reviews. I mean, or whatever the case might be. And so, because it's not just getting the 5-star or the 4-star review, but it's getting the content with it. And when we ask that business owner if there's anything else we can do, we talk to them about their experience. We can kind of help them, guide them. Just because Google doesn't look at just the review, they look at the content that's associated with that. They're looking at, is it a 1 or 2 line review? Is it more meaningful? Does it mention an employee? Does it mention their product? We talked about the gluten-free pizza earlier. So all of those things go into the factor of making your business more credible in Google's eyes. And if your business is more credible for certain terms in Google's eyes, then they're going to present you more often to consumers that are looking for those products and services. That's why it's so important. That's why it needs to be part of your core process.
Yeah. Here's a strategy that I've shared with some of my clients that does a couple of things. One, it rewards the right kind of behavior. It also creates more reviews. And it's also a powerful recruiting tool because a lot of construction businesses are struggling to keep their people and find good people. So here's a strategy. Anytime one of your employees gets a review and it mentions them, then you celebrate that. You make a social media post, you put that on Facebook, you talk about it publicly, you tag that employee, maybe you tag the customer if you're connected with them on social media, you talk about it in weekly toolbox talks, company picnics, once a month, all hands on deck meetings, and you celebrate, hey, Stephen got a 5-star review. Here's what his customer said. Stephen was great, et cetera, et cetera. You put that out there on social media, you share it because people want positive reinforcement. If you want to see people go the extra mile and you want people to get reviews, then anytime they do get a review, then celebrate it. Make a big deal out of it because that will reinforce that behavior with Stephen. And then everybody else in the company will say, hey, I want some of that love. I want to get recognized. So I'm going to step up. I'm going to ask for reviews. And if I get a review, I'm going to make sure that everybody knows about it. And then, so one, that reinforces the right behavior. Positive reinforcement works so much better than negative reinforcement, which talking about how we typically only talk about the bad things with contractors. Contractors typically only talk about the bad things with employees. We typically only tell them what they're doing wrong, which doesn't work nearly as well as telling them or catching them doing something right. So, number one, it's going to reinforce the right behavior. Number two, it's going to say a lot about you as an employer to your future employees. Because if someone's looking for a job and they look through your Facebook page and they see you talking about celebrating Stephen and celebrating Sharon and Sarah and whoever else is doing all these amazing things, getting these reviews, that says a lot about your culture. And sharing those reviews also says a lot to your future customers as well, because they're seeing it. So that, if you're wondering, well, how should I get started with this? That's one good strategy to get started with, is start celebrating, sharing, getting that information out there about the reviews, and it just works in so many different ways. But yeah, very powerful. That's a really good point, that we don't tend to ask for reviews. And I think a lot of it is fear, quite frankly, because when the project's done, we don't want to ask, hey, can you leave a review? Because maybe something didn't go right. I've done this when I owned my own business. I've run lots of projects. In some cases, I just wanted to get away from the client because I didn't really want to ask them because I was afraid of what they might say.
Yeah, and I think you're going to have those situations where even when you did everything right, there's going to be some customers who are still not going to be happy. You're not going to meet their needs. I wouldn't recommend probably asking those people for reviews, but when the situation is right and it's meaningful and we know that there was a good situation there, we don't want to invite getting something negative out there. That's going to happen naturally on its own. But when there is that positive situation, which is probably in most cases 9 times out of 10, most certainly those are the opportunities where we ask for it. And I agree with you on the kind of business, kind of highlighting those people that are getting that feedback, doing good jobs. I mean, I think a lot of times we always focus on the negative within business, and but then on the other side, we're telling them, hey, put a smile on and go out there and treat our customers right. I think it really starts with most businesses internally, and how we treat our employees is really probably a good reflection on how they're going to treat the customer, and it has to be a cultural thing, right? I mean, I think that recognition is in many cases more powerful than pay or other things that we might do. I know us as a business, we use a platform called Motivosity, and we utilize that to recognize if someone gets one of our customers leaves a review and mentions them. But we also, it's a platform that we allow our employees to recognize each other for helping them out on a certain project or a job, or doing a good job, but it's just internal. It's just a cultural thing for us. I mean, I wouldn't say that every business has to go use the platform in order to do that, but they should have some type of mechanism to get that going internally, because we all thrive around recognition. I mean, it's not just the one guy's being recognized today, but it makes all of us step up and want to be better.
Yeah. Herb Kelleher, who is one of the founders and former CEO of Southwest Airlines, said something very similar to what Richard Branson from Virgin, all the Virgin companies, they both said, focus on your employees first, and the employees will take care of the customers. And when the customers are taken care of, that's going to take care of all of your shareholders. So focus on your people first, and then that will take care of a lot of problems. And I tell people really that strategy, there's a strategy that boils down to 4 words that helps with employee retention, recognition, making them feel good about their work. It also works with clients, and it's 4 words: make them feel important. And if you make people feel important, whether that's asking for a review, hey, we think your opinion is important, can you share it with us? Making your employees feel important. Hey, you did a great job. We want to run this up the flagpole and tell everybody about it. Here's what we think about you. Make them feel important. Those are, if you can apply those 4 words to customers, your kids, your wife, your employees, it's going to go a long way. Yeah. Well, hey, we are just about out of time. This has been really helpful. Some really good practical stuff on getting repeat customers, dealing with reviews. I think you gave some good 80-20 type advice on getting started with your Google My Business page, getting good reviews. So let's talk about what you do. Let's talk about your business. And let's just talk about that. What is your business, and what do you guys do?
Freshlime is a business where we help different businesses and service sectors. We don't work with e-commerce companies. We don't work with large big box retailers. We work with local focused service companies where your customers are buying locally. And what we help them do is we help them stay in front of their customers. We help them drive repeat business. And some of the tools and some of the things that we talked about today and automating kind of that process and asking for the review, kind of following up with the customer. We talked a little bit about GMB today, but we actually take all that GMB data, and when someone is going on your website and they click that little chat button down at the bottom and they want to know what your hours are or what products you solve, that's part of our system where we can actually take all that GMB data and answer those questions. And so it's all around engaging customers in a modern way. So we call it modern interactions. And so those interactions could be, someone doing that first Google search and making sure that you're there. Second is helping you get that review. And the third thing is don't forget about your past customers. I think a lot of business owners feel like, hey, I did a really good job with that customer. If they need me in the future, they're going to recommend me, or if they need me in the future, they're going to always come back, and they don't. And so you need that ongoing engagement, just like we do with any family or friend relationship. If we don't talk to someone for 10 years, the relationship is kind of gone, right? But typically those relationships that we cherish, we want to stay in communication with them. And so our platform takes your most valuable business data and helps you stay connected, not in an annoying way, but just from time to time. And it could be on social media, it could be email, it could be SMS, just enough touch points to keep the relationship moving forward, but not annoying so they turn you off. And so it's all about building better relationships with customers in a modern way. And we're really focused on locally focused businesses. And so this is not like an enterprise solution where you have to hire someone to run it. It's pretty much do it for me. We spend a little bit of time, get you set up, and for a few $100s a month, I mean, it's taking care of a lot of these processes that you should be doing anyway. So at the end of the day, I mean, our goal is, and what we tell business owners, we're going to give you back your nights and weekends. Marketing stuff that you should be doing and you might be doing on nights and weekends. That's what our platform does at a locally focused kind of customer price.
Yeah, I like it. I preach that business owners' time is worth $1,000 an hour. And some people don't really believe that. But if you do the math and you go through, look at your highest value activities that you could be spending your time on: selling, networking, building relationships with referral partners, going after big clients, hiring, recruiting, training, planning your work, it's easily worth $1,000 an hour, if not a lot more. So what I tell people is these are things just like bookkeeping, marketing, interacting with your customers. These are things, they're basic blocking and tackling, and you absolutely have to be doing them. And if you are doing them yourself, then you should be doing something else. You should be outsourcing it, systematizing it, letting somebody else do this. I guarantee it's, from a financial standpoint, it's a no-brainer. So some people look at this like, oh, I can't afford to spend whatever it is, $50 a month, $500 a month, whatever. Look, if it saves you an hour a month, then you're money ahead, because you can go spend that hour doing $1,000 an hour activities. Chances are something like this is going to save several hours a month. So from a financial standpoint, it's just a no-brainer. And then it takes away all the stress and aggravation of doing it a little bit here and a little bit there. It gives you a consolidated system. So yeah, I think that's great. So Freshlime, if people want to find out more, or if they want to get started, where should they go? What's the first step they should take if they want to find out more about what you can do for them?
Two things. One is you can most certainly go to Google and look at our Google reviews and see what other customers have said about us. And second, you can go to our website, freshlime.com, FRESHLIME.com. While you're there, go check out our blog. You'll see posts talking about maybe even some of the things we talked about today, like how to get rid of reviews, kind of those steps. We put out, we're not one of those companies that's trying to put out content every single day, but 2 or 3 days a week we'll put out something that's very meaningful. And it's not about trying to get customers for us. It's really to help small businesses grow. I've been in the small business space for about 20 years now, helped over 1 million small businesses in some fashion through companies I've started, and 2 of them have been sold to larger public companies, and so they're much bigger platforms today, but very passionate around helping small businesses. But anyway, you can go to our website. From there, you can actually start chatting with someone if you have some questions. If you just need help and you're trying to do this on your own and you're not ready to pay for someone, just still ping us and talk to one of our customer service people, and they'll give you kind of the links in the right areas to go to get started and updating your Facebook or your Google or whatever you want to do. So we're here to be helpful, first of all, and secondarily, if we can help you grow your business, we'd love to work with you.
Great stuff. Well, thanks, Jay. I appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast today. This was very helpful.
Hey, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Be sure to go check out Jay's company, Freshlime. Go to constructionleadingedge.com/Freshlime. Learn how they can help you stay engaged with your customers, how they can take this off your plate and systematize your customer engagement, systematize the getting of online reviews. So go to constructionleadingedge.com/Freshlime. Check that out. Also, go to constructionleadingedge.com, check out my free resources, schedule a call with me. If you're a construction business owner, I'd love to get on the phone with you and talk through some of the roadblocks that you're dealing with, help you figure out where you want to go and what is keeping you from getting there. And then be sure to go to constructionbusinessaccelerator.com if you want to get in on my Systematize Your Construction Business training. And hey, if you just need one thing to remember and you don't have maybe you're on the lawnmower or you are driving, and you need some of this information, send me a text, 859-667-2015. Let me know what you're looking for, whether it's systems or Freshlime or a call, whatever it might be. Tell me what you're looking for, and I will get that link into your hands. I'm here to help. And as always, I appreciate the ratings and reviews. I wanted to read a couple other reviews that came in recently. And so the first one is from Kay Kittleman, who says this: Todd addresses topics that a lot of contractors may not be addressing or are simply unaware of, and that if improved could help their businesses become more successful. He provides a wealth of knowledge and experience and a forum for construction business discussion. I appreciate that, Kay Kittleman, and I would appreciate it if you could leave a rating or a review. Let me know what you think. Go to Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you listen to this podcast. Leave a rating and a review. That helps me, and it also helps get the word out to the rest of the interwebs. And if you could also share this podcast with somebody, maybe it's a subcontractor, a buddy of yours, a general contractor, somebody who's thinking about starting a construction business, just send them a text, send them an email, say, hey, maybe you should check out the Construction Leading Edge podcast. I would appreciate it. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Todd DeWalt from ConstructionLeadingEdge.com. I will see you next time.